What would you do if you found out 3 weeks before closing on your first home together that your fiancé had already scheduled your divorce? Not thought about it, not considered it if things went south, scheduled it. Like a dentist appointment, with a lawyer already lined up and a countdown already running in her head. That's exactly what happened to me. I'm Dale, 34, operations manager at a regional logistics company outside Denver. My job is making sure 18-wheelers full of other people's stuff get where they're supposed to go without a driver deciding Nebraska needed a detour through Wyoming. It's not exciting, but it pays close to 6 figures. And it kept a roof over both our heads for 4 years. Right up until I found out the roof was never supposed to be mine. My fiancée, Brianna, was 28. She worked part-time at the front desk of a boutique fitness studio, but her real job, in her own words, was building a brand. Translation: posting 6 times a day to about 6,000 followers, who mostly consisted of her cousins, her regulars from the gym, and what I'm fairly sure were 40 or 50 bot accounts from a follower growth service she swore she never used. Gym selfies with captions like "stronger every day, mentally and physically." Smoothie bowls photographed from directly above like she was defusing a bomb. Inspirational quotes lifted from Pinterest with zero attribution. She once told me with a completely straight face that her engagement numbers were basically influencer tier. I did not say what I was thinking, which was that her engagement numbers were basically aunt and coworkers. We met at a farmer's market. She was working a pop-up booth for a protein bar company, trying to get people to sample something that tasted like sweetened drywall. I bought one to be polite. She laughed at a joke I don't even remember making, and that was it. 4 years, gone, just like that. Year 1, things were good. Year 2, the content creator identity started eating everything else. Year 3, I was quietly footing the bill for ring lights, editing software subscriptions, and retakes of the same brunch photo 11 times because the light wasn't hitting right. Year 4, I proposed because 4 years in, proposing felt less like a leap and more like paperwork that was already overdue. She said yes. She also asked me to retake the photo of the ring because her manicure had a chip in it in the first shot. Should have been a sign. It wasn't. After the engagement, we started talking seriously about buying a house. I'd been saving since my first real job, had about 90 grand sitting in an account I barely touched. Brianna had somewhere around 15. The math didn't matter to me. We were getting married. What's mine is going to be ours anyway, right? We found a place in Arvada. Nothing fancy. A 3-bed ranch that needed new flooring and a kitchen that hadn't been touched since the Clinton administration. But the bones were solid. Offer got accepted. Closing was set for 8 weeks out. Brianna lost it in the best way, or so I thought. Posted about it nonstop. First-time homeowner energy. Paint swatches taped to the walls of a house we didn't own yet. A caption about manifesting this exact address that made my stomach turn a little even before I knew what I know now. Because manifesting doesn't usually come with a $90,000 down payment from somebody else's savings account. 3 weeks before closing, I came home early from work and found out exactly how much of it she'd manifested on her own. She'd texted that morning saying a couple of friends were coming over to our apartment and they'd be cleared out before I got home. Fine by me. I wrapped up a report early and left the office around 3 instead of 6. I parked, and before I even got out of the truck, I heard voices through the open window above the lot. One of them was Brianna's. Once the house is in my name, I'm done with him. I mean it this time. I sat back down, left the engine running, just listened. Her friend Kayla laughed. You've been saying that for a year. Because I needed the house first. My dad's friend, the lawyer, said as long as I can show I contributed and that he's basically never around, there's a path to keep the whole thing in the divorce. I just need 6 months of paper trail after the wedding. Another voice. Reese, I think. You're actually going to marry him just to divorce him. I'm going to marry him, get the house locked in, and then dump him in front of both families at some dinner. Public, dramatic. The whole thing. Divorced homeowner in her 20s. Starting over, glow-up era. That's not just closure, that's content. My numbers would triple. Kayla again. And him? He's a logistics manager. That's it. That's the whole ceiling. Nice guy, sure, but there's no version of this where his life gets more interesting than mine. I've been documenting everything. Every late night at work goes down as neglect. Every guy's night is emotional abandonment. By the time my dad's friend is done with him, he'll be lucky to keep his truck. They laughed. I didn't move for a long time, 4 years. A ring, a house. All of it built on a spreadsheet I wasn't invited to see. And here's the thing that actually got me moving again. She'd made one mistake, she told people, which meant I now knew the plan before she'd finished executing it. And that's the only advantage you ever really get in a situation like this. I turned the truck back on, drove to a coffee shop 2 blocks away, and sat there for 2 hours with a black coffee I never drank, figuring out exactly what I was going to do. Step 1, kill the house deal before it could become leverage. I called the agent the next morning and pulled out of the offer. Lost $5 grand in earnest money. Worth every cent. Step 2, I called my mom and asked her to set up a dinner. Both families. Nice steakhouse downtown? I'll explain when we're there, was all I told her. I texted Brianna the same afternoon. Mom wants to celebrate the engagement properly. Dinner Friday, both families. She replied with 3 heart emojis and a promise to wear the good dress. Friday came. 12 of us around one long table. Her parents, my 2 brothers, and their wives. Brianna showed up glowing, working the room like she was already being filmed, hugging my mother, complimenting everyone's outfits, resting her hand on my arm like we were the picture of a happy ending. I waited until the appetizers were cleared. I've got an announcement, I said. The table went quiet. Brianna's face lit up. She thought this was it. The big romantic gesture, content for the feed. Brianna and I are done. I'm calling off the engagement, effective right now. Her smile didn't fade so much as collapse. What? Is this a joke? Earlier this week, I came home early and heard you and your friends through the apartment window. I heard the whole plan. The house, the 6-month paper trail, the public breakup for content, all of it. So I figured I'd save you the trouble and do the public part myself. You could have heard a fork drop 3 tables over. Her mother's hand went to her mouth. Her father stared at his plate like it owed him money. You were spying on me, Brianna managed. You were planning fraud with the windows open. That's not exactly a security failure on my end. She tried a few more angles. I was humiliating her. I was cruel. I'd misunderstood. Nobody at that table was buying it, least of all her own parents, who left about 90 seconds later without finishing their drinks. I drove home. There were 3 boxes of her stuff already packed and waiting by my door. I'd done that Wednesday night, the second I got home from the coffee shop. I carried them down and left them on the curb. Saturday morning, 40+ missed calls. Her mother, a couple of numbers I didn't recognize. I made coffee and ignored every one of them. Her Instagram had a new post. Crying selfie, dim lighting, caption about being blindsided by someone she trusted. The comments were a wall of his loss and you deserve better. I blocked her everywhere before I finished my coffee. Around noon, my buzzer rang. Brianna and Kayla, standing outside in sweatpants and an attitude, demanding the boxes she hadn't bothered to pick up before someone took them off the curb. Not my problem, I told them through the intercom. You had all night. Kayla leaned into the mic. That's stealing. Leaving something on a public curb isn't stealing, and neither is someone taking it. I gave you a window. You missed it. I let them up anyway, mostly out of curiosity. Gave them 5 minutes to grab whatever was left in the closet. Kayla spent most of it telling me I was bitter and boring, and that maybe if I had any personality, Brianna wouldn't have needed an exit plan. I told her that planning to publicly humiliate someone for engagement metrics wasn't really a personality flaw on my end, and she didn't have much of a comeback for that. That evening, I went down to grab something from my truck and found the driver's side keyed from front to back. Deep. Deliberate. A single word carved into the paint that I won't repeat here. Not random scratches. A message. My building has cameras on the lot. I pulled the footage. 5:04 p.m., Brianna's silver hatchback, parked 3 spots down. Brianna getting out, looking around. Kayla standing lookout while Brianna went to work with her car key, slow and careful, making sure the letters would be deep enough that no buffing shop could fix it without a full repaint. Kayla even took a photo of the finished product like it was a trophy. I called a body shop, $2,900 to repaint the whole panel. Then I texted Brianna from a number she hadn't blocked yet. I have HD footage of you and Kayla keying my truck at 5:04 today. Faces, plates, everything. Send $3,000 within 24 hours or I'm filing a police report for criminal mischief. She called almost immediately. You can't prove that was me? I can literally email you the video of you doing it. 20 minutes later, a payment notification. Her note? You're a horrible person. I didn't argue with the note. I just accepted the money. From my window that evening, I watched her and Kayla have a screaming match in the parking lot that ended with actual shoving, before Kayla peeled out and left her standing there alone. Wednesday. My buzzer rang again. This time it was Kayla, alone, dressed like she was headed to a club rather than an apology. I let her up more out of morbid curiosity than anything else. She launched into an apology that somehow pivoted, within about 45 seconds, into an offer to make it up to me over dinner that was clearly not going to end at dinner. I laughed, genuinely laughed, right in her face. Let me get this straight. Your friend tried to run a 4-year real estate scam on me. You called it genius while it was happening, and now that it's blown up, the move is showing up here dressed for a different occasion entirely? That's not an apology. That's round 2 of the same plan. She didn't take it well. On her way out, she ran straight into Brianna in the hallway. Brianna, who had apparently shown up to try the exact same building. Worse timing. What followed was a screaming match that escalated into an actual slap fight in my hallway, complete with a shoe casualty and Brianna's purse contents scattered across the carpet. I filmed about 20 seconds of it before they separated, mostly for my own records, partly because I'm only human. This is all your fault, Brianna said, breathing hard. mascara halfway down her face. "I'm just standing here," I said. "You two did this part yourselves." I filed for a restraining order the next morning. Brought everything. The vandalism footage, the payment with her own note attached, screenshots of the overnight texts, the hallway video. The clerk told me it was one of the more thoroughly documented cases she'd processed in a while. The full hearing happened about 3 weeks later. Brianna's public defender tried to frame the whole thing as a heartbroken woman making a few poor choices after a painful breakup. That argument survived almost exactly as long as it took the judge to play the parking lot footage on the courtroom screen. Brianna's face on camera, mid-scratch, said everything the lawyer couldn't undo. Criminal mischief, vandalism, a 2-year restraining order, with the judge making it very clear that one violation meant an immediate arrest. I checked her Instagram after the hearing, mostly out of curiosity. Almost everything was deleted. The house posts, the paint swatches, the engagement photos, all of it. Follower count had dropped by a couple thousand. What was left was a handful of sad, quiet posts about starting over, collecting a dozen likes from relatives telling her to stay strong. The house I never bought is still on the market, last I checked. Somebody else is probably standing in that kitchen right now, deciding what color to paint it. Me? I've still got the truck. Repainted, looking better than before, actually. And I've got 4 years of my life back that I didn't know I needed back until I heard, through an open window, exactly how little they'd ever meant to somebody I was about to marry.